What we are looking for from the Aditya L1 mission is to see the impact of solar flares as well as coronal mass ejections as they come to the Earth. We have instruments which look at not only in the sun direction, but also in other directions, for example, perpendicular to ecliptic or in the Earth directions. The impact is that we need to see when the sun becomes quite angry, what are the ways in which it is affecting the planet Earth, and L1 point being at point L1, which is just 1% away from the Earth, it is able to provide us a lot of new informations of the plasma and the electromagnetic radiations which is reaching the planet Earth.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we'll move on to Dr. Annapurni Subramaniam. So the science behind this mission is very unique. So what's the impact of this on the Earth and also on the heliosphere?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on this show. To put the thing in context, I'm the director of Indian Institute of Astrophysics, and we have delivered one of the major payloads on this mission. This is the visible emission line coronagraph. So if you actually look at the words used in it, it is visible because it is seeing the sun in the visible wavelength. Emission line, so what is it detecting? It is the emission line of certain elements. Because the corona is hot, the emission which you get is in the terms of, it's not absorbing the light which is coming from the sun, but it's already hot, so it is coming down by emitting lines. So we are tracking these lines using what? A coronagraph. Now what is a coronagraph? This instrument makes a total solar eclipse all the time within the instrument. So you are looking at the sun all the time, 24/7 through using this mission. And this instrument looks at the sun as though it is always in total solar eclipse. Now, why you want to have the eclipse all the time? Because you want to see the corona. Why corona? Because when sun burps, when sun is angry, the corona is what it takes the matter away. Now, what is unique about this instrument? This is going to see the corona as close as possible from the disk of the sun. Now, what is so challenging about it? It is because the sun's corona is 1,000,000 times fainter than the disk of the sun. So you have to not see the disk of the sun, but see only the corona. So this instrument is very difficult to make, challenging, but it is made. Now it's going to the orbit. Now what we plan to study using this instrument is the corona, its dynamics. Through this emission line, you can actually measure the velocity by simple physics called Doppler effect. So you can measure the velocity, you can measure how much matter is moving, and eventually how that matter will come to the Earth and the heliosphere. So it's overall this instrument, along with the others, of course, the other PI will also be explaining about it. So these holistically will give you a lot of information regarding not only the sun, but also the heliosphere. Thank you.
That was very interesting, Doctor. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to Durgesh Tripathi, Dr. Durgesh Tripathi. You are the PI of the for the payload suit. How is that different from other telescopes like Hubble or James Webb? And what are you going to investigate using this?
Yeah, so good afternoon. My voice is going to mumble because I'm still in the awe of the launch, and one of the payload is gone there. So essentially, JWST, which is James Webb Telescope, and the Hubble Telescope, they are going to look at the universe, different objects, galaxies, star formation, and other objects you see in the universe. Whereas when we talk about Aditya L1, it is going to look at one particular object, which is our sun. And it's also kept on the other side of the Sun-Earth line at the L1 point, whereas the James Webb Telescope went on the other side of the Earth, which is at the L2 point. Now, the scientific difference, of course, they also observe in ultraviolet, but Aditya, as Professor Anil Bharadwaj and also Professor Annapurni Subramaniam alluded to, these are multi-wavelength satellite, and they will be observing all across the electromagnetic spectrum. In particular, suit is going to be looking at the ultraviolet radiation in 2,000 to 4,000 angstrom, if that matters to you, emits from the lower and the middle atmosphere of the sun. And what we want to look at that how in general the sun's atmosphere is coupled by looking at the observations at various height, and how actually this radiation is coming and getting absorbed in the Earth's atmosphere, and what kind of effect it can have in the chemistry of ozone and oxygen, for example, and also these explosions which are happening, how much radiation they are creating, and how much effect it might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now we move on to Dr. Satish Thampi. You are connected with the payload PAPA. Already the plasma particles on the moon are analyzed. How do you analyze plasma particles in the sun? And what is the importance of solar winds and how does it impact?
Thank you. Thank you for giving opportunity to come into this show. As my colleagues, they mentioned actually about the sun. Today we have the auspicious day where actually we are going to our own star, that is the sun. Just I want to tell to the viewers that actually the sun, which is our hero, basically in the solar system. If you look into the mass of the solar system, 99% of the mass of the solar system is occupied by sun. And also this sun is plasma. Now when we are talking about the heliosphere, actually with this all our planets are engulfed in that thing. You know, we have been studying in decades, maybe in centuries, we have been studying about the sun. But what we are lacking actually a comprehensive approach because sun is giving its energy mainly in three forms. The first one is the radiation, actually my colleagues already talked about, which we can do remotely from our ground. But the plasma, basically we are talking about the solar wind, what we call the space plasma, as well as the magnetic field. This can be only studied by in situ. If we study all these radiation, particles and field, then only we will get a full comprehensive understanding of the sun. Now, we are getting the first space-based observatory from the Indian soil, and we are making this opportunity. And of course, I am thankful to ISRO and all my colleagues and my teammates from VSSC and all my scientific colleagues here. This is the opportunity we got actually. We are trying to understand actually all the three things, radiation, particles and field. Already they mentioned about the radiation. Now, Dr. Bivin will be talking about field. Just I want to emphasize on the particles. That's why we named it as PAPA. PAPA means Plasma Analyzer Package for Aditya. This is developed by Space Physics Laboratory in support of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. And now this instrument has two components. If you look at the solar wind, basically it comprises of 95% protons, then alpha particles roughly around 4 to 5%, then equal number of electrons also. So our PAPA is a comprehensive package measuring both ions and the electrons. Now these electrons, like already our colleagues they mentioned actually the major transition events like coronal mass ejection. That's a huge mass which is coming out of sun. Basically it's a plasma. Basically when we are talking about solar and basically nothing but it's the extension of the corona only. That's the atmosphere. Now these particles actually they only actually modulate the energy and momentum of the planetary atmospheres. See when then sun is quiet, like it is not aggressive, sun is what we are getting the ambient solar wind. So if you look into that thing actually, that one actually gives what we call about the interactions, what we call the normal routine phenomenon which is happening on there. But when there is sun is angry, it gives like in a CME, CAR or this sort of events are happening, that is really going to affect our planets. That's what we call the space weather. Now our intention is to understand, first of all actually what these effects, basically the solar wind, in the ambient condition as well as during this transition events, how this solar wind behaves, and also how this coronal mass ejections which is passing through different planets, how actually, what are the different things, like what we call about the microphysics, macrophysics and the mesophysics of that things, that we want to understand. So one thing is actually it's a physics objective to understand because we are getting an ideal point, Lagrangian point, which is in the sun-earth plane, and we will be seeing the events exactly there. Second thing is actually, we can definitely monitor the parameters. Like what actually PAPA will measure electrons and ions, we will be getting energy, direction and angular information, mass information. So if we know these things related to electrons, electrons we don't want the mass, but for the ions we are getting the mass information. Okay. Coupling all this information actually what we can do is we can derive the plasma moments. That will be definitely going to the modeling part, actually dynamics part, and that will definitely going to tell about the effect of the space weather effects.
Yes.
So in due course actually, with the L1 in addition to other L5 missions, we will be able to tell. This is the importance of the plasma missions.
Yes.
That actually, as you mentioned actually earlier with the lunar mission we achieved, we tried to understand that thing. Really it changed, this plasma studies changed the perspective of the moon. Now Aditya will give more detail about it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that, sir. And now we move on to Dr. Dipankar Banerjee. So you manage the beautiful solar observatory at Nainital. How do you think the studies of heliophysics will supplement Aditya L1? Can you tell us something about the history of solar observatories in India?
That's right. India has a long tradition of looking at the sun from the ground. In fact, from Kodaikanal Observatory, we have been observing the sun for more than 100 years. And also we have beautiful, solar observatory at Udaipur, in the lakeside, and at Nainital. We are looking at the sun. But there are limitations of looking at the sun from the ground because you can only see the lower atmosphere of the sun. So this was very, very important that we could go to the space. And this is a fantastic opportunity. Originally, more than 10 years back, we were only looking at a small satellite program. And then Professor U.R. Rao suddenly came up with this idea, why are you be taking baby steps. We should think big. We should go to much longer distance. And then this opportunity came in, the Lagrange L1 mission. The entire country, all the scientific institution got very much highly motivated. There are multiple payloads were then proposed. So eventually now we have a Lagrange L1 observatory class mission. And as you heard from my colleagues, that it is a multi-wavelength observatory. So that's very important to have the shorter wavelength coverage from the space. And in addition, the ground-based observations are also important. So a combination of the ground-based telescope and the space-based platform is very, very important. And since you asked about the question about the, how Aditya in the overall heliophysics research within the international scenario, we only have 3 spacecraft around Lagrange L1 point primarily from NASA and ESA. So I think again, this is a fantastic achievement from India. If you could reach L1 with the full observatory class mission, it will really open a new window altogether. So I think this is a great opportunity, and we are all looking forward. And as I mentioned, probably we'll request that, a better ground-based facility. We have already projected a National Large Solar Telescope project from the ground. I think this is now high time we have a very nice ground-based telescope also to complement the capabilities of Aditya L1.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, it's a very great opportunity. And now we move on to Dr. Vipin K. Yadav. So you're in charge of the magnetometer. What is the contribution of magnetometer to Aditya program?
You see, the magnetic field measurements are very crucial in space, and especially at L1 point. What we are going to measure with magnetometer is the interplanetary magnetic field that is coming all the way from Sun and towards the Earth. So typically these values at L1 point are around 5 to 10 nanotesla. But these values increases whenever there is an extreme solar event, such as the coronal mass ejection or say a solar magnetic storms. Now these events are crucial to monitor the near Earth space weather, because these can have an effect on the life on Earth. If you remember Quebec, there was an event when the power lines were snapped a few years ago. That was because of an extreme solar event. So to keep an eye on the surroundings of Earth, we need these measurements. And apart from that, for solar wind observations also, these measurements will be crucial. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So now we move on to Dr. Anuj Nandi. So what is the importance of solar flares and the impact in heliospheres? And how does Aditya L1 contribute to all of this?
Good afternoon, viewers. As my colleagues already pointed out the importance of this mission and the instruments about. So the thing is, as you know, that solar flares are the energetic and explosive energy release in few seconds to minutes time scale, and it is order of 10 to 27 arcs to 10 to 32 arcs. Now the thing is, these solar flares, why it is important, as because the solar flares actually tells the dynamics and activity in the sun. So the thing is, there are 2 unique instruments built by URAV Satellite Center that is going to cover the solar flares from 1 kV to extremely high energy, around 200 kV. And we know that visible sun is only 6000 degree Kelvin temperature, whereas the outer surface of the sun is million degree Kelvin. So the thing is, why there is disparity? So I think these 2 instruments, along with the other 2 instruments, VLC and SUIT, we are going to address this $1 million questions, as well as why there is difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now I'd like to go back to Dr. Anil Bharadwaj. So there are many satellites that are sent to the space by other nations. So what makes Aditya L1 different from these satellites?
Well, that's a very good question, because first of all, let me again tell you that India will be the third, or ISRO will be the third space agency to have a mission at L1 point. And I just mentioned that it is multi-wavelength, multi-instrument, and multi-direction, and it measures particle, field, and radiations. So you don't have such kind of satellites existing at L1 point so far and currently. That makes Aditya L1 absolutely unique, because we are going to measure remotely, in situ, and particles and fields. I was also mentioning about multi-direction, and that is coming from the ASPECTS payload, which stands for Aditya Solar Wind Particle Experiments. And this is going to measure particles ranging from 100 EVs going to several MeVs. which is essential for us to know, because when the CMEs are happening or the sun is quite angry, the plasma which is coming out from the sun ranges from several EVs to several MeVs. And therefore, we should know in what direction the plasma is coming and whether the plasma is getting accelerated in between when it comes from sun towards earth. And therefore, there is a multi-directional information which is available from the aspects payload, because it consists of two sensors, SWIS and STEP, essentially giving you in two different energy bands. And therefore, we'll be able to quantify the CME, CIRs, and all the processes which is happening on the sun, which gives out coronal mass ejections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your remarks. And now finally we move on to the principal scientist, Dr. Sankar Subramaniam. So how does the Indian science community seek to capitalize on ISRO's space capabilities, especially these observatory missions like ASTROSAT and Aditya L1?
Yeah, so now ISRO has established that it has a capability to send observatory class missions anywhere in the interplanetary medium. ISRO also is developing capability for small satellite missions like a nanosat, CubeSat, as well as the small satellite capability. And that is something which especially a heliophysics community could utilize it, because we can, at a low cost, we can launch many more such instruments which are essential for heliophysics community here in India. So, and also the bigger mission takes its own life cycle, because it requires technologies to be developed for a bigger missions. So in between these big missions, if we capitalize on these small satellite missions, and that will enhances the science capability of our country to the next level. And as you know, the science and technologies are always synergized. As the technology improves, your science improves. When I started my career in solar physics, I started with a photospheric magnetic field. Now we are in a position where we can do coronal magnetic field with Aditya L1, which was not feasible when I was doing my PhD. So similarly, as we move on and as the technology starts to improve, we would be able to generate much more capable instruments, much more compact instruments, which will enable us to do much more science than what we can currently do. So we look forward to capitalize on ISRO's capabilities, both at the large scale as well as at the small scale instruments, and also its capability for developing new technologies in the near future.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very interesting. And to end this, I have a last question to Dr. Dipankar Banerjee. And it's about what kinds of outreach is possible through this launch to energize the scientific community?
This is a very, very important question, and we are proud to be Indian now after the Chandrayaan success. I think it's just not the students, it's the entire country is excited. And we got this opportunity to now travel towards sun. So it is very important that the younger generation, comes into the research and also utilizes the data. These scientific missions are for the community, and it has to be the community driven. So some of our scientists, who have been engaged with this mission for decades, we understand what is expected to be, this data. But the younger generation, they need to be trained. And so for that reason, we also have a Aditya support cell at Nainital, and we are going around in the country. We are regularly conducting workshops. So through these workshops and training program, we really want to reach out to other, people who are particularly in the universities or IITs, because they have so far not been directly involved with the Aditya mission. So I think we are really, really going out, and we expect that the youngsters, the next generation will come and utilize this data, because the data is for the community. So unless, we have more users, we will not be able to effectively utilize the data, scientific data which is coming, and the way we can help the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
I think it is very important for us also to reach out to schools and colleges, because the younger generation should be told about this kind of activities which is happening in the country. Chandrayaan-3 launch has galvanized the whole nation, and everybody is interested to know what all is happening in the science and technology within the country. And therefore, this mission, along with the Chandrayaan-3 mission, that is the Aditya L1 mission and Chandrayaan-3 mission, is going to give us a lot of new information which is going to be very beneficial for the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you everybody for participating in this discussion, and now we move on to the control room.
Thank you, Srinidhi, and I thank all the panelists for enlightening us about the high-tech science that Aditya L1 is about to do.
जी हाँ, अभी आपने सुना इसरो के तथा अन्य संस्थानों के वरिष्ठ वैज्ञानिकों ने हमारे बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सवालों के बहुत ही रोचक उत्तर दिए हैं। इस दौरान चतुर्थ चरण के बर्न 1 को कंफर्म किया गया है फिजी टेलीमेट्री स्थित स्टेशन से। इसमें यान में होने वाले त्वरण के बदलाव को मापा जाता है और इससे पता लगाया जाता है कि यान के इंजन में शुरुआत हुई थी या नहीं, और इसकी पुष्टि कर ली गई है। लेकिन अभी भी यान हमारे दृष्टि से बाहर है, हमारे ट्रैकिंग रेंज से बाहर है, लेकिन इसकी यात्रा अभी जारी है। और अब हम स्क्रीन पर देख पा रहे हैं यह पूर्वानुमानित पथ दिखाया जा रहा है। यह अनुमानित पथ है। ग्राउंड स्टेशन से पुष्टि होने के पश्चात यहाँ पर इसकी पुष्टि की जाएगी। आज 11:50 पर प्रमोचित हुए PSLV C-57 रॉकेट की यात्रा अभी भी जारी है। प्रथम, द्वितीय तथा तृतीय चरण के सामान्य कार्यकाल के पश्चात इन्हें यान से पृथक कर दिया गया था। और फिर
टर्मिनल acquires telemetry signal.
जी हाँ, इसकी पुष्टि हो गई है। शिपबोर्न टर्मिनल से हमारे यान को ट्रैक कर लिया गया है।
At present, ground trace and FPD are updated based on real-time data.
अब हमारे ग्राफ को वास्तविक समय से दिखाया जा रहा है। यह वास्तविक डेटा है जो अब हम देख पा रहे हैं।
Welcome back to the live coverage of PSLV C-57 Aditya L1 mission. The launch took place at 11:50 hours Indian Standard Time from the second launch pad at Satish Dhawan Space Center, Shar, Sriharikota. The first, second and third stage of the launch vehicle have performed normally, and the launch vehicle was in the no visibility range for the ground tracking stations. Shipborne terminal in Pacific Ocean has started to acquire signal 51 minutes into the flight.
अब कुछ ही क्षणों में हम चतुर्थ चरण के पुनः प्रज्वलन को देखेंगे।
In the past 26 minutes or so, the ground trace for the flight was being updated by extrapolation.
Four-stage engine started for band 2.
यहाँ अभी रेंज ऑपरेशन डायरेक्टर ने इसकी पुष्टि की। चतुर्थ चरण का प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है। यह पुनः प्रज्वलन है PS4 का कोस्टिंग फेज के पश्चात। यह वास्तविक समय पे हमें यहाँ आंकड़े उपलब्ध हो रहे हैं क्रूज स्टेशन से।
Very happy piece of news here.
Normal.
Range Operations Director has confirmed the second burn commencement for the PS4 stage. Around 14 more minutes to go for the spacecraft injection.
जी हाँ, अभी भी लगभग 14 मिनट बाकी हैं हमारे अंतरिक्ष यान आदित्य L1 को अंतक्षेपण के लिए। आपकी जानकारी के लिए बता दें कि इस कालावधि जब अंतरिक्ष यान या हमारा यान हमारी दृष्टि से दूर हो जाता है, इस कालावधि में ग्राउंड स्टेशन की दृष्टि से बाहर जा चुका होता है और यान के ऑन बोर्ड कंप्यूटर पर टेलीमेट्री स्टोरेज पर यान के महत्वपूर्ण आंकड़े सेव किए जाते हैं। जब यह हमारे तय ग्राउंड स्टेशन की रेंज में आते हैं तब इन आंकड़ों का प्रसारण होता है और वहां से इनकी पुष्टि की जाती है कि यान इस दौरान किन गतिविधियों से गुजरा।
Fourth stage performance normal.
The fourth stage performing normally. The second burn is expected to last for 472 seconds.
यह चतुर्थ चरण है PSLV XL रॉकेट का। इसमें 2.5 टन के नोदक का इस्तेमाल हो रहा है। यह तरल नोदक हैं। इसमें 2 इंजन लगे होते हैं, हर एक 7.33 किलो न्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न करता है। इस तरह कुल प्रणोद 14.6 किलो न्यूटन का होता है।
Plus 55 minutes.
इस प्रज्वलन काल में इसे 472 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रखा जाएगा। वरिष्ठ गणमान्य व्यक्ति यहाँ उपस्थित हैं।
We are close to 55 minutes 30 seconds past the launch. PS4 stage currently burning for the second time.
Fourth stage performance normal.
Intended trajectory closely matching the prediction. Presently, the shipborne terminal is acquiring the signal. Few seconds later, there will be another no visibility phase before Koru starts to acquire signal.
जी अभी द्वितीय बर्न चालू है PS4 स्टेज का। अभी कुछ 200 और सेकेंड जलकर यह शांत हो जाएगा। सूर्य एक बड़ा और हमेशा से एक समीप का सितारा रहा है हमारे लिए। असल में यह गर्म आग का गोला है जो अनगिनत हाइड्रोजन एटम्स के फ्यूजन रिएक्शन से ऊर्जा प्राप्त करता है और इस ऊर्जा से इस सौर मंडल को एक परिवार की भांति समेटे हुए है। पृथ्वी से सूर्य की दूरी लगभग 150 मिलियन किलोमीटर है। सूर्य ही हमारी ऊर्जा स्रोत है और इस जीवन जो हम जानते हैं उसका भी स्रोत है।
Loss of signal for shipborne terminal. The next telemetry station is Koru. The telemetry signal break will be approximately 205 seconds. During this non-visibility period, ground trace and flight parameters will not be updated.
यान फिर से अंतर्दृष्टि हो चुका है, हमारे ट्रैकिंग रेंज से बाहर है। अगला ट्रैकिंग स्टेशन कुरु स्थित फ्रेंच गयाना स्थित कुरु स्टेशन से हमें आंकड़े उपलब्ध होंगे कुछ ही समय में।
After being injected into the space, the Aditya L1 will not travel directly to the L1 point. Transfer maneuvers will be performed to position the spacecraft in a halo orbit. Aditya L1 will first be made to perform maneuvers in Earth orbit. adjustments will be made in its orbital parameters. After ascertaining the normalcy of the craft, its systems, payloads, and the orbital parameters, burn to exit Earth's sphere of influence will be initiated. After exit from SOI, the cruise phase will start, and subsequently the spacecraft will be injected into a large halo orbit along L1. The total travel time from launch to L1 will take about 4 months for Aditya L1.
इस दौरान आइए आपको अवगत करा दें आदित्य L1 के मुख्य उद्देश्य से। आदित्य L1 मिशन का मुख्य उद्देश्य है सौर गतिविधियों के विभिन्न पहलुओं में महत्वपूर्ण जानकारियां उपलब्ध कराना और इन गतिविधियों का अंतरिक्ष मौसम के असर का अध्ययन करना। इस कार्य के लिए इसमें 7 भार लगे हुए हैं, जिनकी मदद से आदित्य L1 फोटोस्फीयर, क्रोमोस्फीयर और सूर्य के बाहरी परत के विभिन्न वेवलेंथ में प्रेक्षण कर सकेगा। विशेष वैज्ञानिक उद्देश्य इस प्रकार हैं: सूर्य के ऊपरी परत, जिसे हम कोरोना के नाम से जानते हैं, इसकी गतिकी का अध्ययन करना, क्रोमोस्फीयर और कोरोनल तापमान, आंशिक रूप से आयनिक प्लाज्मा की भौतिकी, कोरोनल मास इजेक्शन की शुरुआत और फ्लेयर्स का अध्ययन, सूर्य के कण की गतिशीलता के अध्ययन के लिए आंकड़े प्रदान करना और यथास्थिति कण और प्लाज्मा वातावरण के प्रेक्षण करना।
+1 hour.
वर्तमान में आरओडी ने घोषणा की अब चतुर्थ चरण को बंद कर दिया गया है, अब उसका थ्रस्ट कट ऑफ कर दिया गया है और वह बंद हो चुका है और इसकी भी पुष्टि हो चुकी है कि आदित्य L1 के अंतःक्षेपण की स्थितियां प्राप्त की जा चुकी हैं।
We are now eagerly awaiting the injection of the satellite, as we have the confirmation from the Range Operations Director that the thrust cutoff for 4th stage of PSLV has been achieved. We are 1 hour into the flight.
कुछ ही क्षणों में क्रूज स्थित ग्राउंड स्टेशन से इसकी पुष्टि की जाएगी।
Highly anticipated event next is the separation event of Aditya L1 spacecraft.
यान अपने निर्धारित कक्षा की ओर कुछ ही क्षणों में इसकी पुष्टि होनी बाकी है। यान से अंतरिक्ष यान आदित्य L1 का सफलतापूर्ण अंतःक्षेपण अभी बाकी है।
For Aditya L1, ISRO has developed advanced flight dynamic software to obtain past trajectory data from tracking, apply mathematical computation to calculate present and future location of the spacecraft in a process known as orbit determination. But the correct orbital parameters at the time of injection are of prime importance.
अब तक कुल 22 सौर मिशनों को नासा, ईसा, जर्मन
Aditya L1 satellite separated.
और जिसका इंतजार था वह पल आ चुका है, इसकी पुष्टि कर दी गई है। आदित्य L1
Aditya L1 mission accomplished. Handing over to mission director.
And we have a confirmation of Aditya L1 separation. The mission has been accomplished.
John.
C-57 has injected Aditya L1 satellite into the desired intermediate orbit. PSLV C-57 Aditya L1 mission is accomplished.
आदित्य L1 को पूर्ण परिशुद्धता से इसके निर्धारित कक्षा में स्थापित कर दिया गया है। इसके बाद वह अपने आगे की सफर जारी रखेगा L1 पॉइंट के लिए।
Do join us for the address by Chairman ISRO Secretary Department of Space Shri S. Somnath.
सभी दर्शकों को शुभकामनाएं और बधाइयां इस मिशन की सफलता के लिए। अब हम आपको लिए चलते हैं अध्यक्ष महोदय के एड्रेसिंग के लिए।
Congratulations. The Aditya L1 spacecraft has been injected in an elliptical orbit of 235 by 19,500 kilometers, which is intended very precisely by the PSLV, very unique mission mode here, with the upper stage of the PSLV taking 2 burn sequence for injecting the primary satellite for the first time. So I want to congratulate PSLV for such a very different mission approach today to do this mission of Aditya L1 to put it in the right orbit. Now, from now, the Aditya L1 will take its journey after some Earth maneuvers. It will start its journey to the L1 point, a very long journey of almost 125 days. So let us wish all the very best to Aditya spacecraft for its long journey and being put around the halo orbit of L1. So with me, the mission executives are there. Mr. Biju, the mission director, and Nigar Shahji, the director of the satellite project. So let them join me. Our Honorable Minister of State for Science, Technology and Space is here, Dr. Jitendra Singh. So I request him to speak a few words.
Congratulations, India. Congratulations, ISRO. And while the whole world watched this with bated breath, it is indeed a sunshine moment for India. Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, for making this happen by opening up new vistas for India's space sector and telling us that sky is not the limit. Thanks also, Honorable PM, for giving us the confidence, the courage and the conviction to reach out to the stars and to discover the mysteries of universe beyond. And thanks also for making us realize the enormous potential of our space fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, Indian scientists had been working, toiling day and night for years and years together, but now comes the moment of vindication, the moment of redeeming the pledge to the nation. And coming close on the heels of successful Chandrayaan-3 landing, the successful launch of Aditya L1 is also a testimony to the whole of science and a whole of nation approach which we have sought to adopt in our work culture. While ISRO is credited in executing this mission, the science institutes across the country have come forward to contribute in one form or the other, in small measure or big, to this mission. To name a few, the Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bengaluru, the National Aerospace Laboratories, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai, the Nijri, NGRI, Nagpur, the IIT Kharagpur, IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, and the list is too long. But that, having said that, gives me the confidence to say that this day, the 2nd of September 2023, is a day of reckoning when we move on into the next 25 years of Amrit Kal, and Mother India pledges with the collective will and collective effort of our 140 crore children to reach and occupy the place of pride on the world pedestal. Congratulations once again, Chairman Somanath, the entire ISRO team, and the entire countrymen.
May I request the project director of Aditya L1, Nigar Shaji, to say a few words.
Good afternoon. It's a dream come true for team Aditya L1, and I'm extremely happy that Aditya L1 is injected in the intended orbit flawlessly by PSLV as always. And Aditya L1 solar panels are deployed, and the spacecraft will be normal. And Aditya L1 has started its 125 days of long journey towards L1. We have our Earth burns to rise the orbit, and followed by the trans L1 injection, and finally insertion into the halo orbit in the Sun Earth Lagrange point L1. Once the Aditya is commissioned, it will be an asset to the heliophysics of the country and even to the global scientific fraternity. And I take this opportunity to thank Chairman ISRO, Director URSC, former Director URSC, and all the center directors for their support and guidance for making this mission possible. And my thanks are due to my project team and all the project executives across the center, payload teams, especially the teams from the IAA and IUCA, for the relentless effort in building the payload as well as the spacecraft. And my special thanks to the expert committee who have been guiding all through the entire project life cycle. And I thank all the industrial partners and the entire URSC team for their invaluable contribution. And I feel really honored and privileged to be part of this mission. And at this juncture, I would like to remember Professor U.R. Rao, who sowed the seed for this mission, and looking forward for a successful halo orbit insertion and further great science output from the Aditya L1 mission. Thank you all.
Sri Biju, the mission director and the project director of PSLV.
Good afternoon to all. My big salute to all of you for achieving this wonderful mission of Aditya. We have injected Aditya in its intermediate orbit. PSLV in its 59th mission has successfully accomplished injecting Aditya L1 in its intermediate orbit. It's all because of the dedicated effort of all of you. The challenging requirements given by satellite team was indeed very it was very challenging to meet the orbital requirements. We have gone for a new mission design strategy. We have gone through numerous simulations to validate this, and that is the proof that you are having now. I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for achieving this wonderful mission. I take this opportunity to thank all my review forums, chairman and members of all review forums, and our industry partners for giving high reliable systems for PSLV, and all our family members. With this, our capability of PSLV has increased manifold to venture into new missions, to new and challenging missions. I take this opportunity to thank my project team led by our Sri M.J. Lal as well as Damodaran, Vehicle Director and Associate Vehicle Director, in leading the entire campaign. I wish our satellite team an excellent time ahead for completing all the operations and completing all scientific objectives they have envisaged. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you everybody for spending your time watching this mission and also supporting us and congratulating us, and we joined the entire country We are very proud of the fact that we could do this mission, Aditya L1 mission, just following the Chandrayaan-3 activities, and all of you are aware that the lander and the rover are still functioning, and our team is with the scientific instruments doing a lot of work now. And the good news is that the rover has moved almost 100 meters from the lander, and we are going to start the process of making both of them sleep in the coming 1 or 2 days, because it has to withstand the night. So until we hear about them later, so I would like to say big thanks to each one of you for the support and encouragement and blessings that you are giving to us for continuing the work of building the very strong space infrastructure and capability for India, and which will be becoming one of the strong pillars of science and technology for this nation. And thank you so much for the contributions once again, and wish you all the best for meeting you for next mission from Satish Dhawan Space Center. Thank you. Contribution from across the center, this could be done. So let me start with the Director VSSC.
Good afternoon, India. So this is the 59th mission of PSLV, and 1993 was the first mission. So this is the 30th year of PSLV. So it's PSLV is on the threshold of Shashti Purti. With the next launch, it will be making 60th launch. I wish all the very best to the satellite team, all payload specialists for the operation of the payloads and satellite in coming days. And I'm take this opportunity.
If National Research and Innovation Agency making a presentation, we request you to please take your seat here in front. And thereafter, Space Angel Australia and SABR in Australia. The presentations will be made, ladies and gentlemen, from this podium. We also have a clicker for your convenience. The clicker, the slide changer, as you can see, has a green button, which is to go ahead on your slides, and the red button is to go back, should you skip a slide. And the other thing that I have to announce is each presenter is going to get 3 minutes. We request you to please stay within time limit, and a buzzer will be sounded at the end of 2 minutes 30 seconds. So that will alert you when you have 30 seconds remaining. Additionally, there's going to be a timer running on the topmost right corner of your screen for you to assess time.
How can we deliver one of the fuels of the future? Hydrogen could play a pivotal role in tomorrow's energy mix, but it's very expensive to transport. To ship it cost-effectively, we transformed blue hydrogen into blue ammonia. Discover how we delivered 40 tons of blue ammonia to Japan, catalyzing new pathways to cleaner fuels. Aramco, powered by How.
Hello.
Yes, sir. So the lady in white, there, she's the one who will guide you. The lady in the white. Yes. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are now starting with the Space Business Connect session. In this session, we have actually invited overseas and Indian companies to make a pitch about their companies. We have a total of 49 companies as well as 2 industry associations whose representatives are going to be making a pitch presentation. As I said earlier, we request each speaker to be brief and complete their talk in under 3 minutes. Before we begin with the pitch presentation session, we'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Pavan Goenka, Chairman InSpace, who's going to be chairing this session. We extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Somnath S., Secretary, Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, seated on the head dais. And we also extend a very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dr. Vinod Kumar, Director, Promotion InSpace, and Mr. Shantanu Bhattavdekar, who's the Scientific Secretary of Indian Space Research Organization. Let's extend a hand and welcome the dignitaries in our midst. And I extend a very warm welcome to all the distinguished delegates. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would first, of course, request Dr. Pavan Goenka, Chairman InSpace, to do the opening remarks. Can we have the microphone on, switched on the dais, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Secretaries, DOS, and my other colleagues here. Welcome to the grand finale of a hectic 2 days of schedule. And as was mentioned by Swarya, that we have about 50 people who will be presenting their pitch on their company. And this will be a Guinness Book of World Record probably for 50 people to finish their talk in 2.5 hours. And that too engineers and scientists and business people. So no politicians though. So, so let's see how we manage that. But let me just say it's in a way continuation of what we talked about in the morning, where we talked about what each country is doing, and now we are talking about what some of the companies are doing. We have a very good lineup of companies that will be making the presentations. And I think you will find, as I looked at some of the presentations, that fair amount of work is happening all over the world, something that none of us perhaps have a full view of. And when we go through this impressive presentation, we will really realize that private sector has come of age when it comes to the space sector. I'm going to request my colleague, Dr. Vinod Kumar, who is Promotion Director in space, to make an opening statement, and then we will start the presentations.
हॉलिडे प्लानिंग बॉलीवुड मूवी नहीं लगती?
कहा ना जिम नहीं भैया पूल।
दो भाइयों में दुश्मनी? बस ब्रेकफास्ट इंक्लूडेड हो। आस लगाए बैठी एक माँ।
बजट में आएगा?
एक कंजूस सेठ जी और मुझे बचाने हीरो की सीधी मार एंट्री।
16 करोड़ ऐप डाउनलोड्स, 29 लाख होटल्स और होम स्टेज, कमाल के प्राइसेस।
ये पिक्चर तो हिट है, अगर ट्राई करो।
Thank you, sir. Respected Sri Somnath ji, Secretary Department of Space, and Dr. Pawan Goenka, Chairman in Space. Ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. On behalf of G20 SELM Organizing Committee, I extend a warm welcome to all of you to this amazing Space Business Connect session. During this session, this presentation are planned by global space industry. It is indeed a very significant day as we gather here to witness the cutting-edge innovation and capabilities of space industries from around the world. Friends, we are witnessing a new space era in human history where the space industries are working to revolutionize our understanding of the universe. I am honored to be here before you all as we embark on this journey that we shape the future of space explorations. It is truly inspiring to witness the incredible growth and potential of the global and Indian space industry. The blossoming Indian space industry has garnered worldwide attention and admiration in recent times. You should have read a recent article in New York Times, Explosive Growth of Indian Space Tech Startups. I am pleased to see that out of total 50 plus presentation, over 60% are from Indian industry. Your dedication, ingenuity, and relentless pursuit of excellence have positioned Indian space sector to be reckoned with within the global space community. Friends, the space industry with its ever-expanding opportunities has the power to transform not only the understanding of our universe, but also everyday lives of here on the earth. Under various verticals of space, I would like to express my gratitude to the G20 SELM Organizing Committee for this initiative. Your commitment to nurturing the space ecosystem is commendable, and we are privileged to have your unwavering support. The potential partnership that can develop here can propel your ventures to new heights. Without further ado, let us embark on this remarkable journey of limitless possibilities. Friends, new space era has begun. Thank you, and let the presentation begin. Please stick to the allotted time as we have to have presentation from 50 plus presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will first start with the presentations from the industry bodies. So I'm going to request Mr. Anil Kumar Bhatt, Director General of ISPA, Indian Space Association, to please make his presentation. Sir.
Good afternoon and Jai Hind.
Chairman ISRO, Chairman in Space, dignitaries on the stage, and industry delegates in the Space Economy Leaders Meeting. It's my honor to represent the Indian space industry here, and I will quickly go through some of that has been spoken in the last 2 days, would be a repetition. Please pardon me for that, but I would skip most wherever that is required. The Indian Space Association was made in October 2021 to create an enabling environment for strengthening the private industry in the Indian space sector and to propel India to the global forefront in the entire space ecosystem. And our focus areas were, of course, most importantly, unified for the policy framework, for energizing business growth, to interface with the defense and security agencies in India, for capacity and knowledge building, and for international partnerships. During our inauguration, these are the 4 frameworks the Prime Minister gave us. The first was allow the private sector freedom of innovation. Government to play the role of an enabler. We have to prepare the next generation for the future in space and treat the space sector as a resource for the progress of the common man. We today have these members I am flashing to you to just flash to you the major industry players in space which are there in India. 7 of our founding members, 9 of our core members, all of these have been suppliers of components or vendors to ISRO. And now we are looking at them to evolve as independent entities to do end-to-end work in space. We have associated members also, which are also some of them international companies, and we have a large number of startups. Putting them as per their expertise, this is how the upstream, midstream, and downstream looks in India. This slide was flashed yesterday by the chairman of InSpace. What I wanted to add is from September last year, when the draft telecommunication policy was taken out, and thereafter the draft geospatial policy, and in April this year, the release of the space policy, these have been very important events in the growth of the Indian space sector. And we are awaiting the FDI policy, which we are hopeful will be coming very soon. Notwithstanding that, activities by our industry members have already started in India. This is how the startups have grown today, with a total about 148 which are there recorded, and much more who have registered themselves with InSpace. The chairman ISRO, in one of his talks 6 months back, coined a new word called the National Space Enterprise of India. And what he said was, beyond ISRO, now it is NSIL, InSpace, the entire Indian Space Association, and the entire Indian space industry, that includes startups and academia. And all these, which form the space enterprise, would lead India's future space journey. Of course, many of our industry members will be supported and handheld by ISRO, which has a legacy of more than 60 years. Move the next slide, please. We have had a very positive indication even before the government had announced the policy in 2020, and this is the kind of investment which our startups received in India. And every year it has been increasing, and in 2023, we are very confident that it will cross the figures which are there for 2022. Some of this was again flashed by my chairman, but I would like to highlight to you some of the major activities which has happened is, of course, firstly is the signing of the contract for the PSLVs, 5 PSLVs, with HAL and L&T consortium. Then is Skyroot, which was a startup which just came up in 2018 and was able to launch in November 15, 2021. Agnikul is another company which has making a 3D printed semi-cryogenic engine which has been tested on ground, and we hope they would be launching very soon this year. We had a historical launch of 72 satellites in 2 launches for OneWeb, which happened last year and this year in April. Digantara, again a startup, has successfully launched the world's first commercial space-based weather monitoring systems. Pixel has been able to launch 3 satellites and has also got a contract from NRO in USA. Dhruva has launched 2 nano satellites, while Nelco and Telesat are successfully have had a demo on LEO in India. Ajista, just in June, on 10th June, has launched their first satellite. These are just some of the many successes we have had in the last 1 year after the new policy was announced. And in all this, hand-holding by ISRO and support from InSpace has been a very, very major and important factor in the growth of our private sector. These are the other activities which have happened. I will not go through each one of them. We also got a very policy which I mentioned in April, which gives an opportunity to NGEs to do everything possible, be it in communication, remote sensing, navigation, and in all domains, including space mining and extraterrestrial activities. A lot of faith which has been put in non-government entities by the government, and I am very sure that our industry will live up to these expectations. We have released certain documents. This document I just wanted to highlight. We had got with E&Y, we had got a study done last year on what is the overall Indian space economy compared to the world one, and the figures by their prediction by 2025, we would have an economy of about 13 billion. In various segments, the figures are given there. Of course, launch vehicles would be the least, about 1 billion. This is what the division of the sectors and the likely percentages growth which are likely to happen in satellite manufacture, launch services, ground segments, and satellite services. The largest growth, of course, would be in the launch services. We have also done a study. We had a meeting along with US and IIT Madras, where we were looking at the association of all space entrepreneurs in the Indo-Pacific. We all met there and we agreed that we would be making an association for all of us being together. On the aspect of space technology parks, many of our states in India have been moving in it. Kerala, Gujarat, Trivandrum, where at one spot they are providing all the opportunities for our space industry companies and especially the startups. We in ISPA carry out 2 conclaves. One is the Indian Space Conclave, which we started last year, and we had the Minister and Chairman ISRO there to support us, and a Defense Space Symposium where we looked into what all the defense forces would require, all the 3 services, and we have been able to get 75 defense challenges for the industry from the Ministry of Defense. We would be having the next conclave from 4th to 6th October this year, and we would welcome all of you for that. I finish here. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, we would once again reiterate the time limit. We have to stick to 3 minutes. Now I'd request Mr. Sanjay Kumar, President, Geospatial World, to kindly make his address.
Thank you very much and very good afternoon. Thank you to Dr. Somnath and Dr. Pawan for giving us this opportunity to talk about. I will be talking on behalf of the global geospatial community, a community which is more on to the downstream applications of space infrastructure, and my title would be more about space infrastructure and geospatial value for the world economy and society. Looking at what's happening around us is a lot of change which is on the rise is climate change, disasters, wasteland, or inflation. And the consequence of that is depleting agrofields, water scarcity, depleting natural resources, flora and fauna, and very important, depleting wealth of the nations. Especially in the last 3-4 years, a lot of wealth has gone away from us. So how do we deal with this situation? It's all about resilience, and resilience of all kinds, be it economic, be it social, be it environmental, be it infrastructure, cultural, or human. Diversity, equity, these are the kind of resilience the transition is going on currently around us. So, what is the role of space and geospatial infrastructure in that? Geospatial infrastructure and space help you measure, model, monitor, and manage what? And the output is in the form of productivity. It does help you increase productivity, efficiency, transparency, and compliance. And these are very important topics. And actually, when you talk about sustainability of everything, the compliance and transparency are equally important tool of sustainability of everything. And that's where the use of technology for productivity and efficiency is what leads to the economic growth, what leads to the sustainability of everything. Looking at geospace, the foundation of the digital economy. Geospace is actually the foundation. Today, we live in a digital age, and everything is dependent on geospatial technology and space infrastructure. What we help to do is describe the problem, diagnose the problem, predict the solutions, and then prescribe how to address that. This is the kind of workflow cycle we have to find hindsight, insight, and foresight. And that is how the economy is growing. That is how the businesses are using this technology across huge enterprises. You just said so many businesses are just dependent on the power of location, power of GNSS. PNT is inside every digital device of this world. And if the PNT is messed up, all of us are messed up. I'm telling about the economic impact. And what is that impact happening around us is that impact is transitioning our industry as a whole. The industry which was seen as a technology, the industry which was seen as a laboratory or a government function is an industry. So now you don't hesitate in saying that space is an industry or a geospatial is an industry in itself. And that is the kind of transaction taking place. And why this market map talks about is the fact that we have GIS and analytics, Earth observation, GNSS and positioning, frontier technologies, infrastructure modeling, solutions and system integrators, and the new kid on the block is the consulting firms. I can share these slides. I know it is not visible, but that is how the global geospatial and space market is organized. And look at the kind of companies, how they are playing into different parts of the role, and that's what we make a solution. And this slide, it talks about the $202 billion of investment in the last 3 years around geospatial and space. I heard about $100 billion investment, which has been said by various speakers in this summit. But where does other $102 billion comes in? That other $102 billion comes in actually from the location and geospatial investments. Host of investments is going on across the location companies, across the 3D modeling companies, across the indoor GIS companies, across the every aspect of living where we are making use of this technology. This industry is actually growing nowhere less than 17 to 20% CAGR every year. Just depends how do you want to define, how do you want to scope it up. That is what is the scope and definition is what makes you believe or not believe, or rather further believe. So global geospatial industry market currently is about $512 billion, out of which this includes GNSS and Earth observation as well. And let me tell you that 65 to 70% of this market is driven out of GNSS and Earth observation. And GNSS is almost 55% of that model. We give a lot of emphasis on Earth observation, but if you look at the actual uses of the space technology for the citizens or the consumers or the businesses or the security, GNSS is the driving force. GNSS is the driving force, I want to tell you. And this is growing at the stage of about 14%. I have a caveat to share. When somebody says that, geospatial space economy is about $1 trillion going to be in 2030, I actually disagree. Space economy right now is already $1.7 trillion. But depends on how do you want to define that. Do you take all the applications, which is Uber or Airbnb or Zomato or all those applications and their business values, do you take them into account as part of your economy? Yes. 35 billion deliveries have taken place in India in last 1 year. 35 billion deliveries means what? Every delivery is based on the location. Every delivery is based on the indoor map. Every delivery is based on the 3D modeling. That's what it is. And this is a published figure. We have just a detailed exercise on this, and you have no hesitation in saying that this data is very, very correct. And the economic impact. Today itself, $7.5 trillion of economic impact. We as a profession, as a holistic profession, we make a $7.5 trillion economic impact. I'll just take 1 more minute or 30 seconds to say that why it is important that we actually talk about safety, sovereignty, and trade of space infrastructure.